Okay, so to be successful with tomorrow's lesson, there are just a couple of important topics that we need to look at. Our first topic is going to be this idea of unit rate. And the second topic, we're going to look at graphs of a proportional relationship, okay? And that term proportional relationship, in general, just means a relationship involving a constant ratio, okay? So if we're going to start with unit rate, let's consider this situation. Let's say we have a car and it travels 400 miles in 10 hours. Okay. To find a unit rate, right? Instead of figuring out how far it travels in 10 hours, the unit rate is always going to be relative to 1 hour or one can of soup or one year, okay? So it's going to be per one of the other. So let's write that as a quick little note. So per one, okay? So I want you to think for a second. If this car was able to travel 400 miles in 10 hours, how far was it able to travel in 1 hour? Okay, so you can probably figure out pretty quickly with some basic division that it's going to be 40 miles, okay? M-I-L-E-S. So we can write this as a unit rate, and that's always going to have the term per in it. So we traveled 40 miles per hour. Okay. Now that's a pretty basic concept, right? But let's look at a slightly more challenging one. Okay. So let's say that instead of traveling 400 miles in 10 hours, let's say we were at the store and we know that 4 cans of soup cost $1.20. Okay. So the unit rate is just going to be the cost of 1 can of soup. Now, some of you may be able to figure that out right away, but there are other methods that we can use other than just a basic calculation. Let's think about that double number line diagram. Okay, so we'll put our cans. Sorry about that. We'll put our cans up top. And then down on the bottom, we're going to put our cost. Okay. So we know that 4 cans cost $1.20, right? And this is going to work if each can costs the same amount. We can kind of assume that that's true. And of course, on the other side here, 0 cans cost $0. So if we were to break this into 4 equal pieces, 1 can, now those aren't very equal pieces, 1 can, 2 cans, 3 cans, okay? Well, then each of these, if these are each 1 can, then each of these has to have the same cost, okay? So you can pretty quickly see that each of these is going to be 30 cents, right? So 2 cans are going to be 60 cents. 3 cans are going to be 90 cents. Okay, so the unit price is this thing here, okay, the cost of 1 can. So this cost is going to be 30 cents per can. Okay, so that's what a unit rate is. Okay, so I'm going to clear out some of this, and then we're going to look at our next topic. So the next topic is over here, our graphs of proportional relationships. So let's go back to that. So our car, let me change my mark here. Our car that was traveling before, a car travels 400 miles in 10 hours. Okay. And just as we make this, we're going to assume that this car is moving at the same speed the entire time. Okay? So recall from earlier that we were able to figure out that this 400 miles in 10 hours is really 40 miles per hour. Okay? So we're going to make a graph of this on our y-axis, right, our vertical axis. We're going to put our distance here, okay? So this is going to be distance. Put a D for distance. Oh, sorry, I have the wrong tool on. Put a D for distance. And then over here on our horizontal axis, our x-axis, I'm going to put a T for time, okay? So, I'm just going to count my time in hours, okay? And if we were actually working in math class, we would probably make this a little bit more detailed, okay? 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour, 5 hour, okay? And let's get back to our red here, or let's label our y-axis first. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. My y-axis, I'm gonna count it up by, I don't know, I'll count by hundreds, okay? So here's 100, 200, right? And notice that when I make this graph, I'm spacing my intervals out equally, okay? Here's 300 and 400. Okay, so now I want to go ahead and sketch a graph here. So I know if the car's traveling 40 miles per hour, that means after 1 hour, and let me go to red, we're going to travel 40 miles. So I'm going to put that right about here. Okay. And of course, after 0 hours, it's really traveled 0 miles. So that goes right at the origin here. After 2 hours, how far is the car going to have gone? Well, that's clearly 80 miles. 3 hours is 120. 4 hours brings us up to 160 miles. Okay, so what you'll notice if you've done this correctly is that our graph makes a straight line. Okay, now I'm not using graph paper or anything, so it doesn't look as straight as it should. But I'm going to kind of pretend that we can get a clear line through here so that I can do it for all these values in between. Okay, so it looks like I did okay. Right, there's my line. Okay, so this is our car that went 40 miles per hour. Okay, so let's say that we had a car that was faster. All right, and we'll do this in green. Actually, we'll do this in blue. Let's say we had a car that went 100 miles per hour. Okay, so probably breaking some laws there. 100 miles per hour. Okay, so we'll do this in blue. So after 1 hour, this car has traveled 100 miles, right? Still 0 and 0, right? When we started out, the car hadn't traveled at all. 2 hours, 200 miles. 3 hours, 300 miles. And 4 hours gets all the way up to 400 miles. Okay? So one of the things that we're going to talk about in the next couple lessons is how changing the information here, how going from 40 miles per hour to 100 miles per hour affects the graph. And the first thing we should see is that it's a lot steeper, okay? As we increase our speed, our distance time graph gets a lot steeper. All right, so we will investigate. It looks like my line wasn't quite so good there. Let's just label it. So that's our 100 miles per hour. Okay, so as we investigate this further over the next couple days in class, we're going to really be able to calculate unit rate very easily, and we are going to really study these graphs of proportional relationships. See you in class.